Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Teacher's Corner podcast. My guest today is called Obehi Adeboyejo, and she's the owner of the Montessori house right here in Oxford. We worked together years ago in a Montessori school, and she was in fact the room leader, an amazing leader and an amazing human. So please help me welcome Obehi to the Teacher's Corner podcast. Okay, so I'd like to give you some background. Obehi and I were roommates in uni. We studied Montessori together, and then we worked together before she went off to do her own thing, and I went off as well. But we've worked together, we've schooled together, we've known each other for a really long time, and I feel like Obehi's journey is an example of dreams do come true. So Obehi, can you tell us, did you always know that you wanted to run your own school?
Yes, I always knew right from, I think I was about 8 years old. In fact, when I was a child, I had a notepad, and in that notebook, I would draw children. I'm not very good at drawing, but as for that, I could draw children. I would draw children in their uniforms, and I would say, when I grow up, I would have a school, and when I have that school, these are the uniforms that the children would wear. Interestingly enough, they were always British school uniforms, like British international school uniforms, and I would keep drawing them. So I knew I would own a school.
Can you tell us a bit about the school that you run currently?
So the school is called the Montessori House it's in Wantage, it's in the village in Ardington and in Oxfordshire. It's for early years, so pretty much from babies until school age children. So we can take them from until 0 till about 5 or 6. And we're still a growing school. We only just started in October, but we're growing.
And how long did you work as a teacher before you set off to start your own thing?
You want the long version or the short version?
Any version.
Okay. Right from when I was little, I think I had a teacher in me, to be honest. I don't know if my background is actually in accounting. I loved numbers. I loved business, actually. I always thought I'd be a businesswoman, and I am now a businesswoman. So I loved numbers, but I always said I would be a teacher. I said I would be a teacher at 40, and this is because when in Nigeria, I felt like, as a child, I just felt like teachers were not recognized. And if you were a teacher, people don't see you as somebody important. And I didn't think my dad would approve of being a teacher. So as a child, I said, when I turn 40, I'll be a teacher because my dad won't be able to stop me. He would, I'll be married, I'll have children. So whatever I wanted to do, I could do it. So I said at 40, I'll be a teacher. Right from being a child, I always worked with children. So I would take children to my garage and teach them. So I would teach them ABCs. I would do Sunday school, teach them Bible lessons. So I was just teaching right from when I was really little. But when I was a teenager, I think I would say that was my first, in quote, experience dealing with children outside of my home. So I went to a church, but then I was supposed to move to the grown-up section when I became a teenager, but I didn't want to. So I hid under, I needed to look after my niece, my cousin. My cousin had a baby, and I said, can I help you babysit while you stay with the grown-ups? And I started looking after that girl, and I continued doing that, and then other teachers were like, why don't you help with this baby? Why don't you help with this baby? So I started looking after babies, and eventually one of the pastor's wife said, why don't you just stay and keep this up? And so I continued there. I was there until I went to uni, and I continued teaching in church, in Sunday school. I went to uni in Ghana, and I continued teaching children Bible lessons. But I'd never had any formal experience in a classroom. But when I finished uni, my friend Meme obviously had known that I had been with children for years. And when we finished uni, she's like, you have a little break from when you start your formal job. Why don't you come? My mom's school has a vacancy. And I was like, sure, I'll come. And I just went to Port Harcourt because I lived in a different city, packed my bags. I was like, yeah, I'm going there for 6 months. And I will never forget, I worked in that classroom. I worked with 2.5-year-olds. That was my first time ever being in a formal classroom. And when I stayed there, I said, this is it. I will never go back to accounting. I just knew it. In fact, it was interesting because when we had half-term holidays, I'll be missing the children. I'll be yearning to go back. And I knew that was it. So when I finished my 6-month program there, I just knew it. And after that, Meme came one day. It's like, she always comes with this idea, oh, let's do this. It was, first of all, come and work with my mom's school. Let's do this new thing. And then she comes and, oh, let's go to London. I was like, okay. Oh, my mom says, oh, I'm going to study Montessori in London. And she thinks you would be great at it. I had no idea what Montessori was. But Meme's like, let's do this exciting thing. I'm like, yay, let's go to London. Never been to London before. Never heard of Montessori, but had no clue what it meant. Started doing a bit of reading about it, and I was very excited. But then I had this big hurdle of telling my dad, because he had dreams of me being this big shot accountant, and here I was about to tell him that I was going to be a teacher. I couldn't tell him face to face because I needed him to pay the fees, by the way, so I needed his approval. So I wrote him a letter. I remember sending a letter to him telling him of how I wanted to be a teacher, but I wanted to own a school. That was the end goal. I couldn't face him, so I sent a letter, and he wrote back and was so excited. He actually called me on the phone. He was very excited. Oh, I love the fact that you're thinking like me, thinking big and all that. He was excited. But then when it was time to pay the fees, which back then was about nearly £7,000, I think he realized, wait a minute, my big shot accountant is now going to be a teacher. And he wasn't happy. He said, you know what, go to London, do your program for 1 year, I'll pay the fees. But I think that it's just, he called it youthful exuberance, he said. And just knock yourself out. Do this 1 year for yourself. And after you finish, immediately register for a master's in business administration, because I don't think you know what you're doing. And that was how it started. I went there. I knew I wasn't going to go to business, but I made sure I got the admission just for his peace of mind. And that was how my journey pretty much started. I finished the Montessori, got a job in a Montessori school, and then my journey started from there.
What are the challenges of running your own school compared to working under someone? Which would you say is more challenging, and what do the challenges look like?
Okay, so my journey is different. Everybody has their own journey. I didn't start off with this big school. When I left my job, I worked there for nearly 11 years, and then I started in my home. I started a small setting. It was me and between 4 to 6 children daily. So to be honest with you, I felt that was extremely challenging, because it was me being everything. It was me doing everything, and it was me working alone. But as the weeks went by, I say weeks because actually I settled in quite quickly. I became used to it, and it was very, very easy. And then I knew, obviously, like I said, that childhood dream didn't die. I just kept getting nudged that, this is not the end. This is not the end. And so after doing that for about 3 years, and it was time, an opportunity came for me to get this property. I thought, okay, this is your dream. And I went for it. And in all honesty, I wasn't really scared initially, because I just felt, I believe that this was a dream that God gave me right from when I was little. And if He designed me to own a school, He would help me. So I was just going that, God was with me. And then when the school started, I will never forget the first day we started. I was overwhelmed, and I thought, whoa, what have I done? In fact, I remember one of the parents called me, because I had children that used to be in my home. And then when I started the school, they were so excited, and they moved on with me to the school. And one of them saw me at the end of the day. So how do you feel today went? And I could not, I burst into tears in front of the parent. In fact, I cried on his shoulders. I couldn't believe it. And I was just overwhelmed with emotions. I was asking myself, what have I done? because I was by myself and I was very comfortable. But now I have all these families, all these parents, all this stuff, all this. I was like, whoa. So I will not lie to you. It's a big, big shift, big responsibility, big change, from running, already, like I said, I did the progression from running my business, and then, so I didn't just jump from being a teacher all the way to running a business. I started a small one where it was just me, now people. So it's been a big, interesting change. Let me put it that way. I'm learning every single day. To be honest, it has gotten better. The first few weeks, I thought, my God, will I ever be able to continue this way? But having a great team has helped. I'm really fortunate because I feel God has given me an amazing team. And they've given me the faith that, I don't have to be there all the time, do everything on my own. And so, yeah, it's been challenging. But another thing that has helped me is having a mentor, someone who has gone before me. I had to get a mentor to guide me, to someone I could talk to about the challenges. And I just don't mean a mentor who you just call around, as in a paid someone whose job is there to look after you, who you can pour out your heart to, and they can guide you. Someone who has been successful in this path. So I hope that has answered your question.
Beautiful. Still on the back of this question, I wondered if, because you've been a leader, when we were working together, you were the leader, you were the head of the room, and then when you moved into your home, it was all you. Do you think that these leadership responsibilities kind of prepared you for what you're doing now?
Absolutely, absolutely. There was no way I could have jumped into this without having any leadership skills before. And I would say, for those listening, I'm a Christian, so you would hear me talk about God quite a lot because I feel like I know that He's the one that has called me to do this. And I know that God prepared me because if you really know my background, I was the most timid, most shy, I never confront people on anything. And to be put into leadership positions, and it all started, to be honest, if you hear my story, my journey from working with children all started in the church. So my first leadership role started in a church, in a new church, and then I was just teaching, doing what I do, just loving it. And one day they came and said, "We want you to handle the group, lead it." I'm thinking, really? I thought, okay, something fun. Yeah, let's do it. And then I started leading. I was like, whoa, this is not, and somehow it gets thrown at me and I don't realize what it is until I get in. And then I had to lead people who were much older than me. I was single then, didn't have any children. But I was leading people who had grown up children, much older than me. And it was a huge challenge. But as I did it, the more I did it, the more I thought, okay, I now started learning on the job. I somehow always learn on the job. And then, so that prepared me for when I had this leadership role on my previous job, because then I had to lead the class. I had to lead a group of people, this leadership role was thrown at me again. Never chose it, but I had to do it. I was forced to do it, more or less. And then I had to lead people who were older than me, who had been in the school longer than me. And it was scary, but I did it afraid. I did it afraid with God, and my confidence grew as I did it. And it all prepared me for where I am today, because yes, I still get scared, but I'm doing it afraid. But this time, every step I've taken in the past has helped me get better. And yes, and I just hold on to God, because I'm like, you called me to do this and you have to help me. And I can tell my confidence is growing daily.
So I can tell that your faith plays a very, very strong role.
Yes.
Have you always been a spiritual person?
So I grew up in a Christian family. I went to church. That's all we knew. I won't say that I really had I went to church. that was the only way I knew anyway. But I would say my faith grew stronger when I went to university, and I met just young people were like me, and many of them didn't really have any strong faith, but somehow we just discovered that relationship with God together, and it helped me. And as time went on, especially moving to another country and not having family around you, I started discovering, or my relationship with God started becoming more personal, and that has helped me through every phase of my life. So it's been a journey, and it still gets better. Yes.
Do you think that if somebody wanted to start a nursery, it's beneficial to work first before you start? And if yes, what are the benefits of it?
Everybody has their own journey. That's the truth. I mean, my mentor has different nurseries around the country, and even in the foreign country. She's never worked in the classroom before, and all her nurseries, all her schools are successful. So it's working for her. For me, I don't think I could have done it without being in the classroom, because I have first-hand experience. I mean, if the staff should say, "Oh, this work is hard," I can look at them in the eye and say, "I absolutely know where you're coming from, but I've done it. I've been down there, and sometimes I'm still in the classroom. So I know what you're going through, but I know that it's possible." As opposed to somebody saying, "Oh, I know what you're going through." Excuse me, you do not know what I'm going through because you've not been in the classroom. But I have. So I think having a school, if you've been in the classroom, if you've worked in a school before, I think it does have its own benefits. So I can't say one side is better than the other, but from my own, it's just different. And from my own perspective, I think I'm glad I was in the classroom before. I was in the school before.
Do you think that the view of teachers have changed? In the beginning, you were talking about how in Nigeria people had a view of teachers. Do you think that it has changed now in 2024?
Nope, I do not think so at all. And I thought it was just a Nigerian thing. Even in England, even in the US, all over the world, it's still the same. And sadly, early years, I feel, is actually the one that is most looked down upon, which is very sad, because the early years is actually the foundation of the life of the child, and that is the area that is most looked down on. So it hasn't changed.
What advice would you give someone who has a similar goal to start their nursery, but they feel stuck?
One thing I would say is never stop believing. Never stop believing. I said I had this dream right from when I was about 8 years old, and I said I would be a teacher when I turned 40. I turned 40 in 8 days. And I feel God said, "You will not be a teacher, Obehi, at 40. You would own a school at 40. Dreams come true. Whatever you need to do to keep that dream alive, do it." I remember when I moved to England, and I knew I was going to start a school. I didn't say anything to my employer that, "Hey, I'm here to just learn and just go and start my school." Never did. But every so often, my employer would say, "Oh, I have these materials, and I don't need them anymore. Does anybody know of any school in Africa that needs the material?" I'll say, "Please bring it on." I would keep them, because I said to myself, when I own a school, I would use these materials. And I kept materials for years. When Meme came, because Meme went back to Nigeria, and then she came to England, and I saw Meme had this fire, this passion, and she was always driven. And I was thinking, my goodness, I have this dream to start a school, and I'm not doing anything. I'm just hoping. So I discovered, before you have a school, you need to put policies in place. So I started typing out policies. I typed out policies. I will never forget, in 2019, I typed out policies with such urgency. I was on maternity leave, about to have a baby, but I would wake up early in the morning, like 5 a.m., start typing out policies, because with such urgency, because I felt that, what if I'm on maternity leave and somebody calls me one day and said, I have $1 million for you and I want you to start a school? What would I say? I have proof to show that I'm ready to start a school. So I said, I need to be ready so that when an opportunity comes, I have what it takes. So my advice is, never stop believing, never stop hoping, because dreams come true no matter how long. Yes, my dream took over 30 years, but hey, it's here. Number two, whatever steps you need to take to keep that dream alive, do it. In my case, it was policies. The policies got me excited because I started learning things I didn't know that needed to be, I didn't know about when I was just, in the classroom. I started gathering all these activities, all these materials, all these toys and all that. So all of those things kept the dream alive. So, and surround yourself with people who believe in you. So that's what I would say.
What do you think we can do to help the mindset for teachers change? Like this whole, I feel like there's so many people who would want to become early, especially the early years, who would want to become early years teachers, but they just, because of the way we are viewed, the way people are leaving early years as well. What do you think people can do? Is there something government can do? Is there something, what do you think the solution is?
Need a miracle. I do not have an answer to that question. I honestly do not have an answer to that question.
What are you doing in your own school?
So I can help in my own space. I cannot change the entire world, but in my space. So one of the first thing I did for my teachers, I made them know that, because when I hired people to come and work with me, they knew it was a place that was starting from scratch, and they knew that I was running it previously in my home, and they saw that I moved to a much bigger place. And I said to them, I told them my story of how I had worked under somebody for years, and I told them of how this was a 32-year-long dream, and they saw the progression and they could see where I was today. And I said to them, anything is possible. I said, you're here. I know you all have dreams. I don't know what their dreams. Your dreams might be what I have today. It might be something else. But I encourage you, while you are here, give it your best. When I was working previously for somebody else, obviously many people know early years the pay in there is not the greatest, and I knew it, and I did that for years, and I said I put my heart into what I was doing, and I encouraged them. I said, just put your heart into what you're doing here, knowing that one day your own dreams can come true. And I encourage them, and I do my best to make sure they're comfortable. I make sure that the people know that I appreciate them, be it in little gifts that they get. Try to also make sure their pay is better than what they would have gotten if out elsewhere, and just make the environment conducive for them. And I'm grateful that my team actually say to me that when they are at work, they feel at home there. And for me, that is a blessing, because it's a win-win for us. I can see sometimes they have had a difficult day. It's a tough day, because working with children is a hard work. And I can see that maybe they're exhausted, but they still put their children first. And I think that it's because they feel appreciated, they feel valued, and no matter what, they would, some of them, I have to push them to go and have their breaks, because it's a case of, no, but these children need me. I'm like, yes, but I need you to be well. So I think being in an environment where you're appreciated, where you're loved, where you're respected, where you are heard, does help.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for what you do, because I have witnessed it, I've experienced it, I've been to your school, and I've seen how you are with your staff and how much the staff love you. So thank you for what you're doing. Thank you. Thank you. And finally, what are your final words to our listeners and to teachers out there?
Don't stop believing. Keep your dream alive. Dreams do come true.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
If you got to this point, thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more episodes. Until next time, spread love, spread positivity, and be inspired.